It's an open discussion, and the message here is we'll try to, through our panel of experts, through our academic panel who are sitting in the first row, we would like to establish a message that not all zirconia is zirconia. What is zirconia? What is the clinical, the research, the material science of this thing, and how we are going to use it, and what kind of clinical significance we as clinicians are going to get out of this. So let me introduce the members of the panel. From the material science and the industry, we have Mr. Samer Awad. From the 3M, we have Mr. Bauer. On the clinicians' side, Dr. Ian Pierce, or Priest, sorry for the pronunciation. We have Dr. Andreas Kurbat, and we have Professor Tahini. And from the research point of view, we have Peter Girke and Dr. Atif Shakir. Now for our academic panel, and I'm sorry if I'm going to be missing any names, forgive me for that, but I'll try my best. We have from Boston University, Dr. Faisal Sukaria and Dr. Tina Rokadia. We have from Sharjah University, Dr. Hatim Ad-Damanhuri and Dr. Reem Hajali. We have from Moscow University, Michael Murashov, and we have Stanislav Vafen. We have from Belgrade University, Dr. Valentina Veselinkovic. From the Computerized Dentistry Association, we have Professor Alexander Torovic, and we have Igor Rastik. From Nicholas and Asp, we have technician Bruno. He's very famous here, so you don't even need the family name. And then we have from Ajman University, Professor Dr. Abdelhaq Suleiman and Dr. Abdurrahman Saleh.
So we'll start by a brief overview about zirconia and... One second. Okay. So about zirconia and the manufacturing point of view and the process, how to do zirconias. So as we have seen during the day, we have different types of all ceramic material. It can be either glass ceramics, glass infiltrated ceramics, alumina, and zirconia. So in other terms, whenever we have a tensile strength on our zirconia and crowns, so this zirconia will change from the tetragonal shape to the monoclinical phase, which will include an increase in volume. And that increase in volume will generate some stress on the crack, on the tip of the crack, which will prevent it from propagating inside the ceramics. Now, are all zirconia the same? And I think this is the subject of our panel discussion. Now, like you see in bread, you might have the same components, but in the end, bread differs. It will differ from how you cook it and how you bake it and different things. The same goes for zirconia. Now, there are different types of zirconia in the market. What would be the difference? If we have learned a lesson, or if we should learn a lesson in dentistry, we should learn it from orthopedic surgery. In the 80s, the hip zirconia were very, common for orthopedic surgery. But what they discovered after some time, many companies were producing this type of zirconia. But what they discovered after some time, that most of them failed. And many companies were forbidden to sell this kind of hip zirconias in the US. So nowadays, out of, 20 companies, you only have 5 certified companies to sell this kind of zirconium product. Now, raw material might be chemically similar, but the product can be very different depending on the process. So you might have the same type of zirconia, or you can have this type of raw material and zirconia. So what will affect the final properties of your zirconia? First, the raw material, then how you blank press it to create the blanks. The pre-sintering phase will be decisive. The milling, the shading system, and the final sintering. All these steps will affect the final properties of your zirconia, which are aesthetics, fit, and strength of the zirconia. What will affect your aesthetics will be the raw material, the blank pressing, the shading, and the sintering, because depending on the purity of the grains, on the blank pressing process, to avoid to have any voids inside the zirconium blocks, it will affect your aesthetical outcome.
The academic panel, you don't have to ask questions. If you have a feedback, if you have a research, if you have a knowledge on what we are doing, please just let us know so it doesn't have to be an answer and question. And now the message that we would like here to deliver is that as an end user, who is the end user of the Zirconia? Is it the patient or the dentist? I think it's the dentist. Yes, because if something happens wrong, the patient comes to me. I am the end user. As a Zirconia and take it as a face value, that's what Mr. Samer is trying to tell us. It's lots of difference. So it's our duty as end users to look into the Zirconia and find out what kind of material we're getting. Do not buy it at face value, either from the laboratory or from the manufacturer. Thank you. Okay, Nadim, go on.
Thank you, Munir, for this. I would remind the audience also, if you have any questions that arise, please, Annie will be circulating among you to receive your written questions if need be. I think Zirconia is the new trend now, as it has been metal ceramic in the early 60s. Are we going to trust Zirconia as a base for a white restoration? It's a metal after all. What do you think, Dr. Bauer, about this product and how we can use it in where's your microphone?
Well, it is now around about 10 years that zirconium dioxide has first been used for dental restoration. That goes back to research conducted by the University of Zurich in cooperation with the Technical University. And ever since, this material, yttrium stabilized zirconium dioxide, has been in use for dental restoration with great success. Of course, and this is why we are having this open forum, open discussion here, there are materials, more and more materials appearing in the market, and there are also news about fractures here, impurities there, and I think that need to be sorted out and addressed to really differentiate what is what and what may be used with good confidence and faith for the sake of a patient's well-being, and not only for the possible increased income when using so-called generic or faked material.
I think we should differentiate the talk into three parts, where we talk about the material, we talk about shall we throw the old restorations, metal-based restoration, and transfer into zirconia-based material, or at the end we'll talk about the complications, what would be the complications, delamination or processing or whatever problems we might encounter with this. So let's start with the part which is which zirconia can you use and what are the properties of a good zirconia. Peter?
As Mr. Bauer said, zirconia is not actually really new. You know, the basic research is probably more than 10 years old, and we can rely on that material under certain circumstances. One circumstance is it has to be oxide stabilized. I think all the manufacturers I have seen here at this exhibition have oxide stabilized pure zirconia. The second one is that, yes, I try to speak louder. The second requirement on zirconia, as I said during my presentation, is that we as dentists and researchers look out that we only use high-quality products. We are very well aware that you can have zirconia raw material to a cheaper price, but if you cry for quality, you only cry once. That means if you buy cheap zirconia, you might run into big problems in breakage and getting the biggest problem on the clinical side, which is the crack of veneering, chipping off of the veneering. We had some problems in the beginning because on the clinical side we thought that we handle zirconia frameworks the same as we have used porcelain fused to metal. And this is totally wrong. That means the dentist and the lab technician has to learn from scratch that working in full ceramic with zirconia bases is different. Ever since we have understood that this is a very delicate thing, we don't have any problems. So coming to your question,